Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me and Autism Connect for my presentation. My name is Daniella Mini, and I'm going to talk to you about the unexpected joys of parenting an adult child with autism. Over the next half hour, I hope to impart a bit of the wisdom that I've gained over the past 31 years parenting my son Diego, to dispel some of the fears surrounding the adult years, and to inspire you to look ahead to your child's future with optimism. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can follow along. Okay. All right. So that's me and Diego. And first, before we proceed, let me tell you a little bit about us. Diego is my oldest son. I have Diego, who's 31, and Andres, who's neurotypical, and he's 29. Diego is diagnosed with autism, with with intellectual disability, as well as bipolar disorder. And he pretty much has shaped my professional life. I am currently a special education advocate. I practice in Connecticut, where I live, and I help parents navigate the special education process from birth to adulthood. Before that, I was a special education teacher for 17 years. I'm also a writer. I have a blog, publicponder.com, where I share posts, reflections about my experiences parenting Diego. And I also am working on my memoir about my transformation through love and the complexities of parenting a child with developmental disabilities. This is my story, of course, and I'm going to speak to you from the point of view of my story. Of course, I hope that you'll relate to some of what I have to say, but I realize that each person's and each family's experience is unique and always changing. Okay, so that's me at 24. And this is a quote that speaks to me when I think about how I've changed over the years. It comes from Daniel Gilbert, the psychologist who wrote the book Stumbling on Happiness, a great book, by the way. So here it is. We do not realize that our views will change because we are normally unaware of the processes that change them. Again, we do not realize that our views will change because we are normally aware of the processes that change them. So here's some questions I might have asked myself when Diego was a baby and I was 24 years old. What will success look like when Diego's an adult? What will make him happy? What will it mean for him to have a life of purpose? How crucial will it be for him to be independent? I can tell you this, 24-year-old Daniella's convictions and answers to these questions are very different from those of 56-year-old me. But back then, I didn't think my views and my convictions would change. And yet they did, quite radically. I also, you know what else? I wasn't even aware that my views were changing, even as they were changing. All of this is to say that we evolve, we grow, that parenting forces us to, and that this is a good thing. You will also change, and your children will change. So, in thinking about what life will be like when your child grows up, it's important to remember that your parenting journey, if you're a parent, or any kind of caregiver will expose you to new possibilities and to new priorities. And what before seemed like a terrible outcome, you will realize is a great outcome after all. And something else that you will learn is that some of our fears about adulthood are to some extent unfounded. Okay, so here's some of the myths that I feel are prevalent out there. Okay, no one cares about developmentally disabled adults. I feared that when Diego was younger, that there weren't going to be the array of supports that are provided to school-age children and to little children, who are still cute and we still find adorable and vulnerable. Well, I found that the reality is that there are just as many caring humans out there, just as many caring organizations as well after the school years. Diego has benefited from the services, the support, and the love of many individuals from, for example, the ableist, the agency that supports him. It's called Ableist. He also, for example, I'm telling you, of course, about Diego and all of the available resources and organizations that are supportive of him. Okay, so I mentioned Ableist, the agency that supports him. He also participates in an organization called Achilles International, which supports people with any manner of disabilities to participate in running and in running races. There's a couple of organizations in town that host weekly social events for adults like Diego and his peers. He has a full social life thanks to the support of many caring humans and organizations out there. So if you have that fear that the supports that you have will dry up, remember that's not going to happen. You will have to look for them. They will not fall on your lap, but they are there, and you'll be able to help your child build a life that is full and that's surrounded by people who care about them. So that's myth number one, that no one cares about developmentally disabled adults. Myth number two, I've learned, independence is the be all and end all. It's another myth that I've learned is not true. The reality is that independence is not a prerequisite for a life of purpose. Diego is very dependent. He cannot drive. He cannot cross a street by himself. He cannot prepare his own food. He cannot, make an appointment for himself to go see the doctor. Not administer his own medications. He needs support every single day. He cannot brush his teeth independently or wash his hair independently. And that doesn't mean he doesn't have a life of purpose and that he doesn't contribute to society in his own special way. I've learned that when parents say that all I want is for my child to be happy and independent, I hear that a lot, and I probably said the same thing. I've learned that independence is not a requirement to be happy. We have to think about life at any age as a life of interdependence and connection, and that is okay. I even think that Diego will, I don't know, I don't think it. Diego has told me that when I get old, he's going to be taking care of me. And I can see that happening. And then me being the one who depends on him more than he depends on me at present. So that urgency that might be gnawing at you and that might be causing you great fear, the need to be independent, to have a life that's a purpose purposeful life or that is a happy life, I can tell you from with the benefit of hindsight that that is a myth. You can have a really great life even if you're not independent. And then the third myth that I want to tell you about is the myth of the window closing. When our kids are growing up, we feel this sense of urgency to get them all of these services, to have them evaluated time and time again, so that we can perhaps find the latest therapy or the latest intervention that will help them, because the window is closing. When they're little, when they're really little, we say you have to intervene now. Early intervention is crucial. You only have a small window, and we live with a constant state of anxiety, chasing cures and chasing experts and chasing evaluations to find what will finally which will finally make our children be more normal when they're little. When at some point, and especially after the school years, you realize that one of the joys of your child becoming an adult is that you stop searching and chasing that kind of information, and you also stop receiving it because your children are not in school anymore, and you're not being constantly receiving test scores and evaluations. So you're going to focus more in actual living and growth. Even if it's not measured, growth still happens. And sometimes there's even more growth than during that time that they were that your child was little. I have certainly found that, and I have one thing that has brought me great joy is not having to be reading page after page of soul-crushing information about my child. So I want to stop a little bit here and tell you what life is like after the constant evaluation cycle. When you're no longer getting monthly progress notes, or IEP in the United States, progress reports, when you're no longer reading the scores from various batteries of tests, okay? You're no longer getting information like the one I'm going to read to you right now. So I'm going to read you something that comes from an evaluation that Diego had when he was almost 7, okay? And this is just a paragraph from it. Everything else in the evaluation was basically negative information about him. Okay, so here's what it said when Diego was 6 years, 8 months. Diego refused to sit in his seat and threw whatever he could grab into the air, up over a dividing wall or across the room. Diego attempted to kick, bite, hit, and spit at his teachers. He tried to run out of the room several times. When prevented from leaving, he would collapse on the floor. Imagine reading that when you're 30 years old and your child is 6, and the effect that this has on you. Then when Diego was 13, his behaviors were pretty much, basically under control, but still I had to read information that just painted a picture of that painted a negative picture, completely negative picture, a sad picture of my child. So here it is. This is Diego at 13. Diego is a 13-year-old 7th grader whose current level of intellectual functioning rates overall in the extremely low range. His full scale IQ of 55 placed him in the 0.1 percentile for his age. Adaptive scales are all in the less than first to the second percentile. His math and reading level are in the extremely low range. Graphomotor skills are in the 0.3 percentile range. So basically, what they were telling me is that Diego was functioning worse than 99.9 other children his age. What can you think when you read this other than it's hopeless? What can you do except be crushed when you read this kind of information? And when, even though you see somebody who's completely different than what the report portrays, you think you might be going crazy. That's, this is not your child. You see a child who is joyful and who has skills, and yet what you read is telling you that your child is basically incompetent in every single way. So I'm here to tell you that one of the joys of the adult years is that you don't have to go through that anymore. And that now that you don't have to focus on the deficit, space opens up for you to notice what's delightful, what's working, and ways to help your child grow. So now I'm going to stop at how I'll give you a specific example of how this has worked for me and for Diego. I used to hear Diego's speech through a deficit lens. Okay, and all of the evaluations also painted his speech through a deficit lens. And 2 decades later, I hear a mind that is alive with fantasy, with joy, and with visions of oceans, movies, maps, and whales. Because those are what the evaluators and would call his perseverative interests, and the way that he spoke, which was jumping from interest to interest, was always portrayed in a negative light. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos that I posted on Facebook and Instagram to tell you to show you what this speech looks like, and how before I would have just framed it as something negative because it wasn't quote unquote normal, and now I view a language that I used to view as aberrant, I now call and view as beautifully disordered. So I'm going to show you one where that shows the way that Diego talks, and how just a reframing means that now I see it as something positive. So, let me just put on some volume. Hold on. Okay, here it is. You call out. I had my stomach. I had an earthquake this morning. I had to go to I saw a tsunami and then sucked me into the tub, and then I went to the bathroom 30 times this morning. 30 veces. Okay. Why couldn't you go to work today? Why did you call out? I had my stomach. I had an earthquake this morning. I had to go to I saw a tsunami and then sucked me into the tub, and then I had to the bathroom 30 times this morning. 30 veces. That's I now view that as beautifully disordered. And I'm going to show you another one of what I mean when I speak of the reframing, and before, hearing Diego talk like that would stress me out. And now now that I've just shifted my focus, now it just brings me delight and joy. So I'm going to show you another one. Okay. Let's talk about that. Is it safe to swim in the rain? Yeah. I'm a survivor like Captain America. But what happens if there's lightning? I'm going to just evacuate, bathing like a swimming macaque in northern Asia, northern Japan. Swim in the pool in the rain. Let's talk about that. Is it safe to swim in the rain? Yeah. I'm a survivor like Captain America. But what happens if there's lightning? I'm going to just evacuate, bathing like a swimming macaque in northern Asia. So yeah, let me just turn this off, or turn this. Hold on a second. Okay. I hope you were able to hear that. So I'm here to tell you that reframing is not denial. It's seeing the whole person. When Diego was little, and I would hear people say that they accepted their children for who they were, I always thought that they were in denial. And now I've realized that accepting your child for who they are is not denial. It is certainly seeing the whole person. And in my case, one of the joys of adulthood was that Diego becoming an adult allowed me to shift and to reach acceptance. I was late in reaching that stage, which I find to be a lot more joyful, but I finally got there. Let me go from aberrant to beautiful. Okay, so that's the shift that happens. For me, it wasn't until after Diego aged out of public education. Also, another aspect of the joy of the adult years is that the guilt over my mistakes as a mom about not doing enough also dissipated. That these negative emotions really weighed me down and sapped my energy to really enjoy Diego and life the way that it actually was. And so having gotten over that guilt and about that race to do more and more and more really allowed me to be more in the moment and have a more joyful life as a mom. Then also it allowed me to shed a lot of the frustration that I had because Diego wasn't like other children, or because Diego wasn't going to go to college. Maybe, well, he's definitely not going to drive. We have hope that self-driving cars will become so effective that maybe one day he'll just tell the car where to go and he'll be able to be to go places by himself. But in any event, I'm no longer frustrated that he can't drive, and accepting. Once you accept what is, that doesn't mean that you cannot help your child grow. I think acceptance allows you to be a better teacher, and it wasn't until you reach a level of acceptance that you can actually celebrate your child for who they are. And so that has been one of the joyful aspects of the adult years for me. So what do I focus on now? I focus on what one of the joys of Diego being an adult is that I focus more heavily on what he can do. Diego can run and swim. He loves to pray for me. He helps out however he can at home. He definitely drives me crazy, but he also makes me laugh. And finally, one of the great things that I see now and that I realize now that I cherish and I feel blessed about is that I have a child, a son who loves me more unconditionally than I even love him. So I'm going to end with this reminder. I'll not show you the little video that I have because I want to leave some room for questions. And this quote comes from philosopher Thoreau. The question is not what you look at, but what you see. So finally, before I move on to Q&A, the most important advocacy you will do comes when your child becomes an adult, had to begin thinking about resources early. Ideally, especially in the United States, 2 years before your child ages out of public education. And learn from parents who've done it already. Remember, it's never too late. I told you, I wrote here that ideally 2 years before your child ages out of public education to begin thinking about resources. And I didn't start doing it until like maybe 6 months before. So, just begin whenever you can, but I'm just telling you what would be ideal. And remember that we're all evolving. Your child is evolving even as an adult. Sometimes even as adults, they'll have regressions, but then they'll make leaps, just like we go back and forth also as adults. Okay, so here's some information about how you can get in touch with me. And since I think we only have 5 minutes left, I'm going to call Diego in. And if there are any questions in the chat, I'm going to take a look at those. And okay. I'm going to answer some of the questions that you have. But before I call Diego in, I want to answer a question that I got from a connection I have. Let me see. Let me find it. Okay. So what is so if I had any tips on puberty and ASD and tips or tricks at anything that helped with regulation? Okay, I'm going to tell you this. Puberty was other than when we moved to the United States. I'm actually from Venezuela. When we moved to the United States, our transition here in the school was horrible for Diego. But other than that, the puberty was really a difficult time. I need you to remember that it is largely related to hormones and to the teenage brain. And if you see any regression, in our case, we saw extreme regression. That will pass. I will also tell you that it was during that time that we resorted to psychotropic medication, and Diego being on medication helped a great deal. So I was really afraid of medication, but I gotta tell you that it worked. It was a long process with a great deal of trial and error, but it really did help him ease, especially the anxiety that he experienced, I guess, due to puberty. Another question that I had was, when did Diego start to talk? And Diego was always a talker. He spoke late at 2 years old, but he was a talker. So I'm just going to recommend a couple of Instagram accounts from parents of children who are non-speaking, where you can find, I guess, a great deal of inspiration and probably information. One of them is Finding Cooper's Voice. And if you're Spanish, that's if you're an English speaker, Finding Cooper's Voice. And there's another one, Mi Vida con Iker. If you're a Spanish speaker, Mi Vida con Iker is a really good resource. Now I'm going to call Diego to come in and answer some of the questions that I got in my comments. Diego, I'm going to call him in to sit next to me. Hold on a second. Diego, do you want to come in? Do you want to come in? Okay, come in when you're ready so you can answer questions people have. Okay, so I have a question while Diego comes in the chat. What do parents of autistic adults find new meaning and fulfillment? Okay, Diego, come here.
We're going out.
Okay, come here. Sit here.
Blocked.
Okay. Okay.
Let's start on breakfast.
Okay, Diego's gonna sit here with me.
No.
Diego, look. It's important if you look at the screen so that people can answer people's questions.
Can I shower, eat
okay?
my breakfast?
Okay, so Diego, people are asking this question.
I talked to Flora.
How do parents of autistic adults find new meaning and fulfillment in their own roles as their child grows older?
Pay attention.
Yeah, you're paying great attention. So I guess, okay, so this is a very, very,
I'm staying home tonight.
Broad question about how to find new meaning and fulfillment in your roles. I think I have to go back about the what happens
baseball
about independence.
Baseball.
I do find a great deal of fulfillment in my routines with Diego. If you find an activity that you both enjoy doing together, in my case, our activity is running. Diego's a runner and I'm a runner, so we run
cheetah, a leopard,
together.
sabor. I say sabor.
Diego,
the leopard, Tarzan runner. My leopards.
Yes, but Diego, look. You gotta look here because that's where the camera is.
Okay, I might want breakfast soon. My lunch breakfast.
Okay, let's see. What would you say to parents of young children with autism who worry about the future to help them understand the potential joys awaiting in adulthood? Okay, so I would say that your views will change. Believe me, your convictions and your views will change. You will find community and slowly, even with you realizing it,
I'm sorry.
What seemed terribly negative in the past will no longer feel that way. It's a magical thing that happens. Okay, Diego, here's another question from people. Look, you have to look over here so people can see what your answer is.
Okay.
Okay. So Diego, okay. So here now I'm gonna ask you some questions that people had. Okay.
And then can I get my breakfast? Can we go walk in the buy breakfast at the diner?
And then we can go buy breakfast. Okay.
A diner, a muffin,
so Diego,
a cupcake.
Somebody asked me, what is your favorite Disney ride?
Everest. Dinosaur was the movie, came out when I was 6. Dinosaur, the movie, I like the dinosaur on the book, a comic, Dinosaur.
The dinosaur ride is your favorite?
And the Jurassic World one in Orlando, where your sister lives.
Okay.
And they're in Miami, Jurassic World in Orlando, was I like the Jurassic World movies.
Okay. So Diego.
And the Superman at Six Flags in Massachusetts, Six Flags Superman ride, and the Looney Tunes ride.
So you like a lot of rides. Okay. So Diego, thank you. I'm gonna ask you another question.
Eject.
So Diego, we're not gonna do eject now. We're gonna do end when we're ready. So Diego, where would you? Here's another question somebody asked me. Are you ready?
I like Kilimanjaro safaris with a lion, the
Diego,
hippo.
are you ready?
Say hippo and safaris, the wildebeest and the zebra and the kudu antelope and the rhinoceros animal kingdom. Is that a lion country safari? And
that's another ride that you like.
I like lion country safari. If I go when lion country safari, see a baby lion and a baby rhino, lion country safari, and where is it? Boca Raton lion country safari near Fort Lauderdale.
You like that ride too, the safari place. But here's the next question.
Animal Kingdom and Country both combined in Florida.
Okay, but here's the next question. Are you ready?
I like a lion.
Diego, are you ready for my next question?
I'll tickle you.
Yeah. My next question is, where would you like to live someday? Would you like to live somewhere different?
When my other job coach, when people are just doing their business, they like to live in Stanford, maybe. Stanford's too far. I live maybe in Hartford, live maybe in Singapore's too far, Monsoon.
Okay, so where would you like to live?
Visit Singapore, to fly from New York, Singapore.
So would you like to stay here where you live?
I live in Hartford, maybe New York. Maybe there's too much money. Live in Portchester's too far. Or live maybe in with a lowest apartment. Maybe I can move from our house and sell it.
Okay. So Diego, look, here's another question.
I have a little apartment. My apartment's too loud.
Diego, look here. So Diego, here's another question. What's your dream for your life?
Getting married when I'm 38 and 37.
That's your dream for your life?
Yeah, all my friends are 30.
Okay.
And my friend Owen's 32. My friend from Philadelphia is 30.
Do you have any other dreams for your life?
Watch TV and entertainment and read books about entertainment, like actors and celebrities.
Okay. So Diego, here's another question somebody else had.
Okay.
Here's another question. The other question is, what's your favorite movie or your favorite book?
Superman, Aquaman, The Flash, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, both on the TV.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch it soon.
And all right, here's another question. And what are some good memories that you have from growing up?
Venezuela and Glenville, where I used to live. I would drive by Glenville.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let me see. Is there anything you like? Look, Diego, look on the other side of here. There are people looking at us and listening.
Like an anti-bubble. It's a bubble.
Listening to what you have to say. Do you wanna say anything to the people listening about your life, or are you done?
Done.
Okay, you wanna say goodbye at least?
Bye. And now can I eat my breakfast? I have to say one. I'm starving. Can we go get breakfast out on the street?
And then we're gonna go get breakfast. But let me say goodbye to everybody.
Doesn't take too long. How we go to Ponte one breakfast? We're going to.
Okay. So
what time's the city? 12:30.
We're gonna go. So Diego and I.
9:30. I'm gonna take a train.
So you can see what the joys are of being
shower time.
Okay, shower time. Okay. So let me see. So I think this. I'm going to wrap up here. I think you got a good idea of what it's like to have an adult child with autism at home. I thank you so much for listening. And if you want to get in touch, there's my information. This presentation will be available and posted on Autism Connect also. So you can go back and re-listen if that's important to you, or if you want to forward it to somebody else. Okay, thank you so much.